Welcome back to Afya Fit 360. My name is Ken O. I'm a public health specialist hosting you on this show, hottest in north of Limpopo, south of Sahara, east of Africa, Afya Fit 360. So today we want to delve into this big topic in Kenya. GMO, genetically modified foods. Should we have them on our tables or not? Or are we actually having them on our tables and we do not know? What is genetically modified organisms? GMO is a microorganism from plants or animals that has been genetically modified by introducing a select gene to give a desired trait or gene in other organisms. And the reason why many governments and many scientists are discussing GMOs is because of the supposed positives around them. It is argued that if you embrace GMOs, you are going to increase the crop yield, you are going to increase insect tolerance, you are also going to increase pesticide tolerance, drought resistance, as well as herbicide tolerance. That can be increased. And hence, the US, the first country to launch and endorse GMOs in the year 1994, they started with corn. And the GMO corn has been altered to reduce insects attack as well as diseases. GMO potatoes, GMO canola, GMO papaya, GMO apples, all these have been altered for various reasons. For example, the GMO apples was just altered to protect the discoloration, rancidity, to avoid the browning of the apple, to avoid wastage, because when people see a brown apple they think it has gotten bad, but really it is not. It's just changing of color. Again, there is GMO pineapple, which was changed color just because they wanted to have fleshly pink pineapples. So GMOs have been altered for many reasons, but the primary reasons are to reduce the chances of disease and infestation by insects and pests, and therefore we are discussing this. In Kenya, GMOs were banned in the year 2012, and recently the government has lifted the ban because of the ensuing drought that has happened recently. For the last 40 years, you have never seen such drought as this. And we need to discuss. The government has endorsed it. What do we do as public health specialists, as laymen? 29 countries globally have endorsed GMOs, led by the US, which has a plethora of plants that have been accepted for modification. And by the way, the Food and Drug Agency in the US endorsed those foods for feeding animals, not necessarily human beings. However, a lot of the genetically modified foods or products have also trickled down into the processed foods and packaged products like soybean and others that are in the cereals, crackers, sugar beets, and so forth and so on. So you might not have protected the whole population by not giving the human beings food directly, but people could be accessing the GMOs in the US through the processed or packaged foods. However, in this part of the world, we have only 10 countries in Africa that have accepted GMOs, led by South Africa. And we are still discussing. And interestingly enough, Kenya in the year 2019, the cabinet agreed to GMO cotton, because GMO cotton has got better yield because you protect it against the bollworm. Ghana endorsed GMO cowpea to protect it from some diseases or viral infestations. We have seen GMO saving the papaya plant in Hawaii in the US. We have seen GMO potatoes being protected from bruising and discoloration. However, as much as there are all these good advantages around genetically modified organisms, there are fears around food safety. Kenya rejected GMOs courtesy of the Sierra Leone study, which associated GMOs to cancer in a rat's experiment in a laboratory. And this is what has been discredited by some scientists who say it was not founded on facts. And hence, as public health experts, we need to do more research, invest more resources to doing robust research and advise the Kenyan government on the best way to go. Again, the people who are against GMOs, they have got good reasons. And if you read WHO website, for example, they have given a very solid explanation on what people need to consider. There are perceptions or palpable risks around allergies, developing allergic reactions courtesy of these GMO foods. There could be susceptible, or we could be exposed to antibiotic resistance when we use genetically modified foods. Again, this has not been proven in many researches, but I think we need to have more research, more rigor to advise governments, especially in a country or in a region in Africa where antimicrobial resistance is real when treating malaria or when treating pneumonia using the antibiotics. We need to protect the population, and hence this discussion is important. So there are these fears also on biodiversity. What would happen if you change some traits and save some organisms while exposing other organisms in the planet? You know, it is very interesting to note that even the existence of a mosquito, if we eradicated mosquitoes entirely in the whole world, it would be beautiful because it has claimed so many lives of our children and families. But for some reason, one pastor made me laugh when he said that the mosquito was actually allowed to the Noah's Ark, male and female, they were there. There's a reason why we have a mosquito in the ecosystem. I'm just using that example to tell us that we do not know what would happen if we fully endorse GMOs. And again, GMOs are not over every food. Mostly on corn, that's maize, cotton, papaya, potatoes, alfalfa, and a few that have been listed by the government of the United States of America. They have stable structures, and their Food and Drug Agency has been very thorough. Even the State Department of Agriculture has listed the number of bioengineered foods so that as you go to purchase, you exactly know what you're doing and what you're buying. So for us to put up genetically modified foods in Africa, in Kenya to be in particular, we need to have robust structures, policy frameworks. We need to have proper labs that are able to do this kind of research, and that will make us a better country. So I am not for or against GMOs. I'm just saying we need to be alive to the pros and cons of genetically modified foods. In the Kenyan markets, we do not necessarily have GMOs. I know when you see those very nice oranges, apples, avocados, some people might want to be tempted, is this GMO or not? No, we have very advanced technologies in the Ministry of Agriculture where breeding and conventional methods are done to improve the crop, and that does not necessarily mean it's GMO. So GMO is something that has to be structured, endorsed by governments after thorough consideration of all the pros and cons. So it's a very weighty subject at the right time, for the right reasons. And before we do anything as Kenyans, let us have public participation. Let us have enough data, enough experiences to advise this discuss. Keep it here, keep it locked. This is Africa 360, where we are mindful of your physical health.